As we head into fall harvest, we have some fuel maintenance tips for tank maintenance and fuel quality to keep you operating smoothly through the fall and into the winter. So let's talk about the opportunities for water to get into your storage tank. One of the places that moisture most often comes from is just air and condensation. So you have your vents, you have your caps. Air goes, if whatever space in your tank is not full of fuel, has air in it, and as temperatures drop, that air can't hold the water as well, and the moisture from that air drops into the tank. Likewise, if you have frost lines on your tank, you've got the rest of your tank, the inside of your tank also has frost. So when that frost melts, that also ends up in your fuel and in the bottom of your tank, and that's one of the most likely causes of moisture in your tanks over time. One of the other places that you take on more amounts of moisture is if you don't have secure fill points. Make sure your caps are closed and secured so they can't blow open in the wind and rain. Make sure that any of your fittings won't allow moisture in. Any of your fittings on the top of your tanks, your fills, your plugs, tank gauges, hoses, anything that can lead to drainage of water back into the tank, make sure that there is no way for rain and moisture to enter that tank. In addition to air containing moisture that can drop out into your tank in changing temperatures, air also contains oxygen. So it's best to keep in the spring, after spring planting, after fall harvest, to keep the tanks as full as possible to eliminate the amount of air that's in the tank sitting for periods of time, because with the oxygen in the air, it can also degrade your fuel. So oxygen will degrade your fuel as well as the air providing condensation going into your fuel. So it's always best to make sure your tanks are as full as possible when they're in idle seasons. Dispenser filters are your first line of defense for any contamination transferring from your fuel supply tank into your equipment. It's important to have a filter at your fuel supply to catch those original contaminants. Some farmers believe that I've got 2 and 4 and 8 micron filters on my equipment. Why would I need a filter on my dispenser? Likewise, the filter on my dispenser just slows down the flow of the fuel into the equipment. So very important to have this filter as your first line of defense. There again, these filters are much less costly to change than the ones on the equipment. In summer, we can run with a 10 micron filter when the viscosity of fuel is very high and thin. But as you get to the colder months and your fall harvest months, you want to change to a minimum of a 30 micron filter. Because of the change in viscosity of the fuel, as the fuel gets colder, it gets thicker, and you want to start with a fresh 30 micron filter as you go into fall harvest to make sure that you're catching contaminants and the fuel flow stays steady for you. Any type of contamination will be more pronounced when in the winter time than it is in the spring because of the higher viscosities of fuel. You're much better off with just a standard, cheaper, particulate 30 micron filter for your fall and winter months.